Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. The Biden administration rolls out a new student loan debt relief plan, which could impact up to 30 million Americans. What we know about the proposal. A top Hamas leader was killed today in an airstrike. The terrorist group blames Israel. Where to from here? A U.S. senator is now calling for a stronger stance against Iran, saying that the source of Hezbollah's aggression is Iran. We'll have more on his proposed policy. A crackdown on illegal cannabis stores in New York City and across the state. Officials say the establishments pose a risk to communities and are targeting children. South Carolina will soon be able to execute death row inmates by firing squad, lethal injection, or the electric chair. What made the state pause executions for over a decade, and why the new options? An exhibition in Paris at the Mint Museum features Olympic medals. It also tells the story of how France, Greece, and the U.S. contributed to the Games' creation 120 years ago. Millions more Americans with student loans could be eligible for debt relief under a new White House plan. President Biden announced today a rule that could bring the total number of eligible borrowers to 30 million to date. During today's White House press briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre commented on the plan.
Today, the Biden-Harris administration announced the next major step to cancel student debt for approximately 30 million Americans when combined with the administration's prior actions, providing them with information about how they can stand to benefit from upcoming debt relief programs. In April, the president announced his administration's new plan to deliver relief to millions of Americans, including those whose balances have grown due to runaway interest and those who have been repaying their loans for a very long time.
Beginning tomorrow, the U.S. Education Department will send emails to all borrowers who have at least one outstanding federal student loan, updating them on possible debt relief. The email does not guarantee eligibility. Borrowers will have until the end of August to opt out if they're not interested in the program. The Education Department will finalize the new rules in September. And President Biden is urging Congress to help him do more to combat fentanyl trafficking before he leaves office. The administration is making the new policy push as former President Trump focuses on likely Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. The White House is asking Congress to pass new bills to establish a pill press and tableting machine registry. The administration also wants to tighten rules on importers shipping small packages into the United States. Fentanyl precursor chemicals are frequently smuggled in relatively low-value shipments that aren't subject to customs rules. Border crossings hit record highs during the Biden administration. The president tapped Kamala Harris early into his term to address the border crisis. Trump has criticized the vice president as being incompetent in securing the border. The airstrike that took out Hamas's top political leader has escalated tensions in the Middle East. Fears of an all-out regional conflict remain high as Iran has vowed to retaliate.
The early Wednesday morning attack in Tehran killed Ismail Haniyeh and one of his bodyguards. He was in Iran for the inauguration of the country's new president. Following the ceremony, the residence where Haniyeh was staying was hit by a missile, according to an Iranian state official. The Israeli military had no comment about the strike. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reacted, saying his agency was not aware of the airstrike. In addition to an all-out regional war, there's concern that Haniyeh's killing will hamper ongoing ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas.
Well, of course, I've seen the reports, and all I can tell you right now is I think nothing takes away from the importance of, as I said a moment ago, getting to the ceasefire, which is manifestly in the interests of the hostages and bringing them home. It's manifestly in the interests of Palestinians who are suffering terribly every single day. I'm not going to speculate on what impact any one event might have on that. I've learned over many years never to really speculate about that because we simply don't know.
Israel launched an attack on a Hezbollah stronghold in the Lebanese capital of Beirut the day before, killing a senior Hezbollah commander. The IDF said he was responsible for a weekend rocket attack into the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights that killed 12 children. After that strike, Israel's defense minister issued a statement saying they do not want a war but, quote, are preparing for all possibilities.
I don't think war is inevitable. I maintain that. I think there's always room and opportunities for diplomacy, and I'd like to see parties pursue those opportunities.
Austin also said the U.S. will defend Israel if they are attacked. After Wednesday's killing of Haniyeh, Iran's Revolutionary Guard is warning Israel they will face a, quote, harsh and painful response from Iran and its allies.
Vice President Kamala Harris will hold her first rally with her new vice presidential nominee next Tuesday in Philadelphia. Her campaign says she's launching a 4-day battleground tour that includes Michigan and Arizona. The location of the first stop suggests Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has moved to the top of a short list of running mates. Joining us now to discuss the matter is NTD News contributor Mike Leon. He's the Policy and Strategy Director of the Free and Equal Elections Foundation and host of the News Commentary podcast, And Can We Please Talk? Mike, good to see you. Do you think that Kamala Harris will pick Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro? What's your assessment?
Hey, good to see you as always, Steph. You know, I mean, the timing couldn't be better, right? Like you just said, having it in Pennsylvania. Look, Josh Shapiro brings a lot to the table. First off, you can't win the 270 electoral votes without winning Pennsylvania if you're the Democratic candidate. And 19 electoral votes Pennsylvania carries with it. Josh Shapiro, you know, just turned 51 a couple months ago. Kind of younger guy, won his governorship race against Doug Mastriano by a wide margin. He's very popular in the state of Pennsylvania. My co-host Nick Savary is from the state of Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of groundswelling and support for him. He would make a lot of sense given the campaign stops. And I know we're going to talk about some of the other candidates, but he kind of brings a little bit more of a younger person, slightly younger, obviously, than Vice President Kamala Harris, and somebody that's been carrying the Democratic message for the last 4 years, to be honest, and has run against a MAGA candidate in Pennsylvania and has won. So he's kind of set the blueprint. He's a very interesting candidate and one to watch to potentially be selected.
Another one is Senator Mark Kelly. He's going to visit his home state of Arizona next week. So, you know, the senator of this swing state is also rumored to be one of the possible picks. What's your take on that?
Yeah, Mark Kelly, to me, it would be an absolute home run. Like, let's start with first, military service guy, astronaut, right? How many of us as little kids want to be an astronaut? This guy actually was one. Border state, Arizona, 2020 election, Joe Biden couldn't win without Arizona. Mark Kelly won his Senate race by about 3 or 4 percentage points. And he's somebody who's, you know, even though he's only been in the political sphere for the last, 4 years or so, he's somebody that's very savvy, has a great family background. His parents were police officers, obviously in New Jersey. So he is somebody that could perfectly fit in and gives Kamala Harris somebody that she can lean on in terms of talking about some of these issues on the campaign trail. Specifically, immigration has been top of voters' minds and in some of these exit polls. And when they list the issues besides economy, immigration's always up there. And Mark Kelly can champion some of that, being a senator from a border state.
Now, some Wall Street donors suspect that Harris plans to pick a governor, not a senator. Among them, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are mentioned. What's your take on that? How can they contribute to her bid for the White House, do you think?
Yeah, they both have interesting cases. And like I said, a little bit different than the states that I mentioned with Kelly and Shapiro, because those are pivotal battleground states. Minnesota is probably going to lean blue with respect to Governor Walz there, even though he is somebody that, as a congressman, won in a very conservative district. Andy Beshear, to me, is the most interesting as well because, a blue governor, red state, traditional red state, doesn't carry a lot of electoral votes, Kentucky, but he's somebody that is in this conservative Democrat mode. He's maybe somebody that can talk to those moderate Republicans that voted for Joe Biden in 2020 that could come over and swing to Kamala Harris's direction, right? He's obviously run on some of the issues that the vice president is running on with respect to abortion, but he's tackling it in this I'm a pro-life, pro-choice type of person. Like, obviously, we want kids to be born, but we want to make exceptions for rape and incest and the life of the mother. So he can talk a little bit more on that level to the people that are in that moderate lane. They both make interesting cases, and I think they're both 3 and 4, respectively, in the hierarchy of who she would choose if it's Shapiro, Kelly, Bashir, and Walz.
Yeah, some hot topics there, and we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Thank you so much. Mike Leon, Policy and Strategy Director of the Free and Equal Elections Foundation.
Thank you, Steph.
After an Israeli strike killed a senior Hezbollah commander yesterday, and another strike killed the Hamas political leader today, Senator Lindsey Graham is calling for the U.S. to take a tougher stance against Iran.
It is time to end the charade that the world is playing when it comes to Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. They're one and the same. So I will be proposing legislation, a resolution, a sense the Senate resolution I introduced today, that says that any escalation by Hezbollah against Israel that leads to a major confrontation should be viewed as an attack carried out and executed by Iran.
The senator said that Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas are one and the same, and that Israel should have the power to strike Iran to protect itself. He highlighted that Iran is very close to acquiring nuclear capability, which would pose the risk of escalating conflict in the Middle East. That's nuclear weapons. Graham suggested that both Israel and the U.S. target Iran's main moneymaker, oil production. He said if the cost of doing business becomes too high, Iran would be pressured to back down. He also said the best thing that could happen to the Palestinian people is to eliminate Hamas and build a society free of terrorism. Israel has taken responsibility for the death of the Hezbollah commander, but has not yet done so for the death of the Hamas leader, and we don't know if they will. Next up, New York City is tackling illegal cannabis stores and products. Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul say the unlawful shops are hubs of illegal activity that are targeting children. NTD's Fiona G. has that story.
There's a clear switch to really start focusing on our children. When you look at some of the products that are familiar to young people to attract their attention, and even using something as a video game, and inside it is containing cannabis type products, it says it all.
Through Operation Padlock to Protect, New York City has closed over 750 illegal cannabis stores. Statewide, about 1,000 stores have been shut down. Unregulated cannabis products can pose deadly risks.
We're talking about so many overdose deaths. These illegal products have fentanyl and are laced with other products. They're not pure. They're unsafe. They could kill you.
The shops also encourage other criminal activities that pose dangers to communities, including shootings and robberies. As disguised cannabis products saturate the market and enter classrooms, Mayor Adams emphasized the importance of educating teachers and students.
We are going to put together some type of documentary that we can get out to the teachers and the schools to say, here's what we should be looking for. We need to be in a constant state of education so that we can push back on what is happening to our children.
Authorities say the operation is a step in the right direction, but further action is needed to make sure padlock stores stay closed. Fiona G., NTD News.
And the South Carolina Supreme Court ruled today that the state can execute death row inmates by firing squad, lethal injection, or the electric chair. The decision is the first step for the state to resume capital punishment after pausing executions for more than a decade. Nearly all inmates have chosen lethal injection since it became an option in 1995. Pharmaceutical companies initially refused to sell more drugs for lethal injections after South Carolina's supply ran out in 2011. In response, lawmakers authorized the state to create a firing squad in 2021. The second option would be the electric chair. The inmates sued, saying both choices violated the Eighth Amendment's prohibition of cruel and unusual punishment. South Carolina currently has 32 inmates on death row. It's unclear when executions could restart. And some good news for low-wage workers in Michigan. Today, the state Supreme Court reinstated major changes to the state's minimum wage and paid sick leave laws. Michigan's minimum wage now is $10.33 per hour. The Supreme Court said a new wage schedule must take effect next February and then go up in subsequent years. The court ruled that Michigan state lawmakers violated the state's constitution. In 2018, state lawmakers received more than 280,000 petitions to change the state's employment laws. Lawmakers had a choice to make it a ballot initiative or just approve the measure. The GOP lawmakers opted to adopt the law, but later on they reduced parts of the bill later that year. In the opinion, the High Court says allowing the legislature to bypass the voters and repeal the same law it just passed during the same legislative session hampers voters from participating in the lawmaking process. All right, next up, when we come back, an exhibition in Paris at the Mint Museum features Olympic medals. It also tells the story of how France, Greece, and the U.S. contributed to the game's creation 120 years ago. That and more after the break.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with YRefi, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com. YRefi, do well by doing good.
Welcome back. Germany has summoned China's ambassador over a 2021 cyber attack on Germany's National Mapping Agency.
We can attribute responsibility to Chinese state actors. We have reliable information on this from our intelligence services.
German officials said the cyber attack came from China's state-backed actors and was used for espionage purposes. Its interior minister called on China to refrain from such cyber attacks. Cyber attacks from China are a growing headache for the West. Just this May, the Environmental Protection Agency alerted water facilities across the U.S., asking them to immediately beef up security against cyber attacks from China, Iran, and Russia. Officials say hackers are taking aim at water systems across the U.S., and the frequency and severity of their attacks have reached a point where the EPA said more action is critical. Over 70% of the water utilities inspected last year didn't meet safety standards to prevent breaches. Some of them are still using default passwords and failed to cut off former employees' access to the systems. A new boss at Boeing and Delta says it lost $500 million because of the global tech outage. NTD's Don Ma has those stories and more in today's Business Matters.
Thank you, Steph. Boeing has named a new CEO after reporting an operating loss of $1.4 billion in the second quarter. This is more than triple the loss from a year ago. Robert K. Kelly Ortberg will take over starting August 8th. He is replacing retiring CEO Dave Calhoun, who has been under fire for the company's problems. That includes, of course, increased scrutiny of the safety and quality of its planes. Ortberg previously served as CEO of supplier Rockwell Collins. He has a background as an engineer, not in finance. That could encourage some staff who have criticized Boeing's management for caring more about money than engineering quality. Meanwhile, a cyber attack has hit a blood donation nonprofit, impacting hundreds of hospitals across the southern U.S. The nonprofit One Blood says a ransomware attack is causing it to operate at a significantly reduced capacity. One Blood says it's working closely with cybersecurity experts as well as law enforcement. In the meantime, the nonprofit is using manual processes to stay operational, which take longer to perform and impact the availability of blood products. The nonprofit serves more than 250 hospitals in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. And finally, Delta Airlines CEO says the airline is facing $500 million in costs related to a global tech outage last week that disrupted emergency services, communications, and as well as thousands of businesses. So speaking on CNBC, Ed Bastian, that is, said Wednesday that the monetary amount represents lost revenue as well as the tens of millions of dollars per day in compensation and hotels for the 5-day period. Among airlines, Delta was by far the hardest hit by the outage, having to cancel thousands of flights because key systems were crippled by the incident. All right, that's all from me, Steph. Back to you.
And next we'll head to ancient Greece, where award-winning athletes were crowned with laurel branches. It was believed that they were chosen by gods. Medals have appeared in modern history to celebrate victories. But an exhibition at Paris's Mint Museum gets into the origins of these awards and the creation of the games themselves. NTD's international correspondent David Vivez went to explore.
Gold, silver and bronze, all 5,084 medals for the Olympics and Paralympic Games have been forged here at La Monnaie de Paris. This is also the place where the first medal for the Olympic Games was ever created, and it is currently getting into the Games history with an exhibition. Delving into the origin of the Olympic Games was a driving force for heritage curator Dominique Antérion to create the exhibition at La Monnaie de Paris, also known as the Mint Museum. The museum has kept centuries-old treasures that have a story to tell, such as this matrix from which were created medals in 1896 in Greece, showing Zeus, god of Olympus. Back in ancient Greece, legend has it the goddess Nike granted victory to artists warriors and athletes with a laurel branch, in reference to the sacred olive trees of the Temple of Apollo.
This is the goddess Nike, which means victory in Greek, and this goddess rewarded all kinds of victories, military victories, sporting victories, but also artistic victories. All of these fields were totally linked in ancient Greece.
The beauty of sports and physical performance were then a time of celebration.
The games were a moment of peace between the different cities, which were finally looking to the future while they were all at war. With a youth that had to be beautiful, vigorous, active, and fit. And in the end, that's what Pierre de Coubertin wanted to reinstate at the end of the 19th century.
In 1894, French historian Pierre de Coubertin began a project of international games honoring Greek traditions. He found crucial support in the US, which hosted the 1904 Games.
If it hadn't been for the United States, I think Coubertin's efforts would have been in vain. In fact, the United States believed in Olympism very early on.
Figures showcased on the medals have changed over the 20th century. The size of medals have significantly increased in the modern era. Ontario says it looks better on camera.
The Olympic gold medal must contain at least 6.5 grams of gold as required by the IOC. Most of this gold is mixed with silver in a metal called electrum. 0.5 grams are plated on the top of the medal. The silver medal is solid silver, and the bronze medal is solid bronze.
The exhibition will last until November 5th. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
And finally, a fascinating discovery on the ocean floor. Archaeologists believe it could date back to the Roman Empire some 2,000 years ago.
Take a look at an ornate marble floor found at the bottom of an Italian sea and that experts are calling a relic of the Las Vegas of the Roman Empire. The elaborate floor, dated as early as the 3rd century, was discovered by divers in the Gulf of Naples in what was once the ancient city of Baia, which, according to researchers, was a once hedonistic party destination for aristocrats and rulers. They went so far as to dub it the Las Vegas of the Roman Empire. The ancient floor has been undergoing a meticulous above and underwater restoration and is believed to have once been part of a seaside villa that likely succumbed to volcanic activity and geological changes before falling into the sea.
Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.